Hey there everybody, Peachy Pop here on Skating Bear Studios. And today I want to discuss the importance of copywriting your creative work, your art. So welcome everybody. Today I'm going to discuss why every artist should understand copyright. And I think it's extremely important. Now, for those of you that don't know me, I've been copywriting my work since 1993. I am a songwriter, photographer, filmmaker, and author, and painter. And even one of the songs you're hearing in the background, this is called Nick of Time. This is a song of mine that I wrote and released about probably 16 years ago now. And I've got this copyrighted at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. And you can buy it. It's on CD Baby, and it's on a variety of platforms where you can purchase it. But, what I wanted to do today is give you, before I get started on how to do it, I want to tell you how incredibly easy it is to copyright your work. This website might seem a bit overwhelming and intimidating. Hey, it's a government website. It's not pretty. It's just like when you go to do your taxes. It's a very intimidating thing because the jargon they use and the website for the IRS is just like, oh my God, forget about it. But once you get the swing of this, it is so easy. It's very intuitive. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but this is an easy process. And it's not that expensive. If you can swing $65, you can copyright your music, your books, your ceramics, whatever you want to copyright. So what I wanted to do today was give you an overview about why every artist should understand copyright. And, when I started copywriting registration through copyright.gov, registration was about $20 for registration. And today it's generally around $65. It depends on what you're copywriting, but for the most part, it's about $65. What is copyright to begin with? Okay, let's talk about what copyright is. Now, your copyright protects, you copyright something, it protects original works of authorship, such as paintings, photography, drawings, digital work, music, books, films, plays, manuscripts, things like that. Copyright protects your expression of an idea, not the idea itself. So in other words, if I write a play about podcasts, you can't copyright an idea. Otherwise, people would run out of ideas. So in other words, if you thought you could copyright your idea of making a Broadway play about a podcaster and what it's like being a podcaster, and nobody else would ever be able to make a Broadway play about podcasts. So you can't copyright titles. You can't copyright ideas. Otherwise, there'd be no more love songs. There'd be no more plays. There'd be no more movies. But a lot of people ask, when does the copyright begin, right? So the actual copyright begins at the moment of inception, the moment your artwork is created and fixed in a tangible form, written on a notepad, recorded into an MP3 format, drawn on a sketch pad. You get the idea. So the minute you actually fix it down, if you're just speaking it out loud to a friend and say, hey, I have this idea. I want to make this movie about these robots that come back from the future and they're chased down this woman named Sarah Connor. You all know the plot to that film, or you should anyway. If you haven't written it down, and that person takes your idea and runs and writes it down and comes up with the movie themselves, you're going to lose a friend because they're going to steal your idea, but they're going to run off and make $1 million off of it because you spoke about it before it was copyrighted. You spoke about it before you had it written down. But copyright literally begins the moment it's fixed in a tangible form. And you personally automatically own that copyright. Now, registration is not required to own your work. The difference between copyright and registering it is different. It's very different. So let me go into more detail on that. So the moment you create the original work, as I've said, and fix it in a tangible form, you automatically own that copyright. For example, you finish a painting, you write a song and save it, you take a photograph, you complete a documentary, you write a book. At that moment, you own the copyright to that piece of work. You don't have to fill out any paperwork or pay any fee to become the copyright owner. Now, registering a copyright, registration is an official record of your copyright with the United States Copyright Office. And registration provides important legal benefits, including it creates a public record showing you claim ownership. In the U.S., you generally must register before filing a copyright infringement lawsuit. So if you feel somebody has infringed upon your copyright, somebody stole your idea for that play of the Terminator, right? And you have it registered with the Copyright Office, and it's registered on the date it's submitted. You can say, hey, I came up with this idea. Here's my entire manuscript. It's dated October 3rd, 1980. This guy took the same idea that I was talking to him with it about in a cafe in Los Angeles and Hollywood. He made the movie, but it's my idea. I had the whole thing written down. He took the exact thing verbatim. If you have it documented with the U.S. Copyright Office, you have a lot of power and a lot of weight behind you in court when you go to court, because you can show a trail of ownership documented and registered with a legal entity, the United States Copyright Office. But if you don't have that written down, you don't have it registered, you may have had it written down, but if you don't have it registered at this legal place, they don't consider it to be a legal documentation, even though you own the copyright. So registration can make it easier to license, sell, and enforce your rights. I mean, think of it like buying a car, all right? Owning the copyright is like buying the car. You own it. Registering the copyright is similar to getting the title officially recorded. It doesn't create ownership, but it gives you stronger legal documentation if there's ever a dispute. And that's very important, especially in this day and age when everybody is online. And it's easy to steal somebody's work online. You know, you do a screenshot of somebody's picture of a full moon behind the Statue of Liberty and you claim it as your own. You do that, you're making money off of it, and somebody finds out, they're going to be able to sue your ass because they have legal documentation at the U.S. Copyright Office, copyright.gov, that they registered this picture 10 years ago, and now you're claiming it to be your own. You're pretty much, your ass is grass. The biggest myth about copyright is that you don't own your work until you register it. That is simply not true. You own the copyright the moment you create an original work and it's fixed to tangible medium. Registration doesn't create your copyright. It strengthens your ability to enforce if someone infringes on your rights. So you ask, why should I register any of my creative works? Well, here are some of the benefits. You have a public record of ownership with a date. You have stronger legal protection, as I'd mentioned. It's required before bringing most copyright infringement lawsuits into the courts in the U.S. So if you don't have it registered, I don't even know if a court would even hear it or see it. I don't know if it would kick it out unless you have some type of proof that, you know, you had a conversation with somebody, you had it recorded on camera, which you could very well these days. But even then, who came up with the idea on camera? It gives you potential eligibility for statutory damages and attorney's fees if registration requirements are met. Okay, statutory damages are a type of financial award that a court can order a copyright infringer to pay without requiring you to prove exactly how much money you lost. And from what my research shows, this is one of the biggest advantages of registering your copyright in the U.S. So, for example, without statutory damages, someone steals your photographs and uses them in an advertising campaign. If your work wasn't registered in time, you may have to prove how much money you lost, how much the infringer profited, and the value of the licensing fee they should have paid. And that can be really, really difficult and expensive to prove. Keep in mind, when you go to court, any type of court, you've got to pay out of pocket for your attorney, and it gets extremely expensive, depending on the type of attorney you have. If you have a high-profile attorney, you're paying probably close to $1,000 an hour, if not $500 to $1,000 an hour. So with statutory damages, your copyright was registered within the required time limits. The court can award damages based on amounts set by law, even if you can't show your exact financial loss. Now, under U.S. copyright law, ordinary infringement generally $750 to $30,000 per infringed work. Willful infringement, meaning the court finds that the infringer was intentional. They knew darn well it wasn't their work and they used it anyway. You can be sued for up to $150,000 per infringed work. In some cases of innocent infringement, the amount may be reduced. Now, there's a real famous case with George Harrison of the Beatles where he took note for note, almost identical. He took the song "He's So Fine" from the, I think it was the Chiffons, and he turned it into "My Sweet Lord." And he had to go to court, and he dragged in front of the judge, and it was proven that he had probably subconsciously, I don't think it was intentionally, but I think he had to pay like £250,000 or $250,000 in fines. And I think they get part of the mechanical royalties every time that song plays. I'm not positive on that one, but it's a real famous case. But this the infringements and statutory damages matter because imagine you post a painting online and someone uses it on thousands of T-shirts. Maybe you can't prove whether you lost $2,000 or $20,000 in sales. Statutory damages give the court a way to compensate you without requiring you to prove every dollar of your loss. And proving that kind of stuff can be arduous, a huge task. I mean, how are you going to prove that? So statutory damages are one of the biggest reasons to register your copyright. So I'm going to show you how to register your work here. Now, if you go to copyright.gov, just www.copyright.gov, I'll pull up this page. And they've really updated their website over the years. This is much better than it used to be. So you just go over here. There's a whole bunch of stuff on here that you, for the most part, if you're just going to copyright your work, first of all, make sure it's transfixed in a physical format. Now here I'm going to show you a box. I've got this box of old cassette tapes. This contains years of my original work transfixed in multi-track masters. These are multi-track masters of songs that I have created over the years. I used to have a Tascam Porta 2 4-track recorder, and I would record my songs in cassette form. And some of these are the multi-track masters. Some of these are mixed down to a stereo master. And this is my trail. This is my trail of authenticity. These are all dated. They're all registered with the Copyright Office. But if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, Pete, that song you played at your opening, Nick of Time, that's my song." Well, I've got it in here on a multi-track master. I've also got it multi-track GarageBand files. I've also got all the notebooks that I wrote it in, and I've got it registered with the Copyright Office. So that person's gonna be like, Isa, can you prove any of that to me? And if my creation of the work existed prior to his or her creation of the work, then I should technically win in court. But these are hundreds of tapes. Demo for my song Imagine That. Imagine That is a song I created back in the early 90s about John Lennon. But this is one of my earliest recordings of it. It's registered with the Copyright Office. And so I've tried my best over the years to CYA. Just in case somebody says, "Hey, that was my song, dude." But here, go over to the copyright.gov. Right now, the only thing you need to do is go to the upper menu here and click on registration. And providing it responds. And the Copyright Office goes over what is copyright. It goes over a lot of the things that I just mentioned. But it's not working for some reason. I can't click on registration. Here we go. So you click on registration. You get a drop-down menu. Register your work registration portal. And that's the one you've got to focus on. They've got to help if you need questions answered. the different types of work. There's literary works, performing arts, visual arts, other digital content, motion pictures. Today, I'm just going to discuss music because that's what I've copyrighted the most of. And when I register my music, I go to performing arts. But register your work registration portal. You click on that, log into Electronic Copyright Office, ECO, that's an abbreviation for it, registration system. So once you get logged in, I didn't show you my user ID and passcode, of course, but once you get logged in, you're given this menu. It says, welcome, Peter. I've got two projects that are still, they're completed, but they're still showing as in the works. I've got a new song I just created and finished a couple weeks ago called Painted Smiles. And Your Love Don't Pay My Bills is a song from this last winter that I finished. I just got the copyright notice for that. It usually takes about 3 months in 2026 to get anything copyrighted. They have a backlog. It takes about 3 months to get it completed. One of the good things about this site is your password expires. I think it's after 30 days. Might be longer than that, but my password always expires. And they're very strict on what kind of password you can use. You have to have a long series of letters, numbers, and symbols, capitalizations, and they usually generate it for you to make it simple for you. And what I do is I just go into the notepad on my Mac and I keep my most updated passwords. But you'll notice if you don't log in for a while and you go back, it'll say your password is expired. You have to create a new password. And it's a great way of keeping people from hacking into their system and hacking into your account. So, and up here it says check registration status. These are my open cases. One, Painted Smiles, was just created. I Think Your Love Don't Pay My Bills. It's done. I just got the registration for it today. Now I'll go to all cases. This is working cases. I don't have anything that's working. Working cases are cases that they're working on. All cases, this is everything I've copyrighted. This only goes back to 2010. But these are all of my songs and books and everything here. We've got Painted Smiles is in there. Everything else has been complete. I've got photographs in here. I've got songs. Let's see, my oldest one goes all the way back to, I think it's 2010. No, it goes back to 2008 on this. Okay, I didn't realize that. These Times is a song I wrote in 2008. Here's some pictures. Pictures I took of a model. More songs, a whole bunch of songs. Now, if you want to register a group of songs all at once, instead of registering them one by one at $65 a piece, you can register, say you have 14 new songs, and you just want to register them as a group. They've not been published on a CD. They're just a group of songs you just finished. You're thinking about recording them for a professionally released album or CD of some sort. You can register them as a group for one charge of $65 or whatever the fee happens to be. But in order to do that, you have to go here under other registration options, register certain groups of published works. Or register a group of unpublished works if they're not published. But if you're just registering one song, you click on Standard Application. Now, in the old days, it was called the Performing Arts. It was Form PA. But now it's just a standard form. You click on Start Registration. Now, the standard application may be used to register most works, including original work, a derivative work, a collective work, or compilation. And you just click Start Registration. And starts here, ask you what type of work it is. Literary work, it's a sound recording. Is it a work of the visual arts, work of performing arts? So literary work is a book or something that you authored in writing. Work of the visual arts, that's photography. Sound recording is the recording. If you don't own the song, but let's say you produce the song, and you arranged it. So let's say I walk into your studio, I've got an original song, but I didn't do the recording, that a producer did it or a recording studio did it. They would come in, and if they wanted to, if they felt so motivated, they would say the sound recording is theirs. And because a lot of studios, you don't own the music. They own the music. They own the masters. They'll copyright it that way. Work of the performing arts would be a song. So you would click on, as I said, the work of the performing arts. If it's a movie, motion picture, single serial issue, I believe it's like TV shows or series on Netflix, things like that. So you click on, oh no, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. Not sound recording. Work of the performing arts. It tells you what a work of the performing arts is. Musical work such as a song, a dramatic work, choreographic work, pantomime, and musical work, so on and so forth. Check this box to confirm that you have read the descriptions. I have, I know what it is. Then it will take you to click on new. So this is a new song you've never registered before. You got to put a title in, type of work, title of work being registered. That would be for a brand new thing that you've never registered. Previous or alternative title would be if you had already registered, now you're changing the title. Title of a larger work. So if you're registering a title of a CD, like if the CD is, I can't think of a famous CD, the White Album. Series title, I don't know any series. Trying to think of a series, Tulsa King. Contents title. So, but what we're doing today is we're title of work being registered. Title of this work is new copyright song. I'm just making this up, of course. I don't have a song by that name. Or if I can type right, you save it, and then it wants you to see if there's any additional titles you want to put in there. But we don't. We're just doing this new copyright song. Continue. Has this work been published? Nope. Most always put no. Here the completion, you put 2026. If pre-registration number, ignore that if you're brand new. And then this is who's the author. So over here it tells you what you're filling out: type of work, titles, publication, and completion, authors. Just going to add me. We don't want to add new. New would be if you had somebody else along with yourself. So if you had a co-writer, if you were writing songs with Taylor Swift, you'd add Taylor Swift and you. But this is just me because Taylor Swift and I haven't spoken in years. So this adds me, citizenship, United States. And then you click save. Author, I created the music and the lyrics and musical arrangement. I did the whole thing because I usually record everything myself now. I don't go into a studio anymore. I just don't have the cash for it. It gets really expensive. You save that. And then it wants to know if you're done with the authors and there's no other authors, it's just you and Taylor Swift and you don't work on songs anymore, just click continue. Now it wants claimants. You're the claimant. So identify the copyright claimant in this work, which would be yourself if you're the author. Just click add me, which would be me. We'll list your name and your address. Save that. And if there's no other claimants, click continue. Limits of claim. This is a complex screen. It's not really complex when you think about it, but this screen should be used to exclude any pre-existing material from your claim to identify new material that is being registered. So for instance, in my most recent documentary, I used this to exclude segments that weren't mine. Film. Like I had some stock clips of an old factory fire that weren't mine. They were in the public domain, but they weren't mine. I didn't create them. I had nothing to do with them. They were created a century before I was born, or like 50, 60 years before I was born. So I put that in here. So let's say it's, doesn't list it here, but, well, this is for a song. Let's just say for this song, hypothetically, even though I already claimed musical arrangement, say I didn't, you would click on musical arrangement if it wasn't your arrangement and you're admitting to it. So here I don't have anything, so I just click continue. It'll let you go ahead. Now you've got to hit rights and permissions. So here you would just click add me. It'll automatically fill your name, correspondence. Click add me. It'll automatically populate the name, the address that you put in here, and then where to mail the certificate. If there's any special handling, is not that important because most of us don't have special handling. Special handling is like expedited service, available only to filers who satisfy one or more of the compelling reasons below. Special handling, the information requested below is required for special handling, pending or prospective litigation, customs matters, contracts or published deadlines that necessitate the expedited issuance of the certificate. None of that you're going to have to worry about. Certification is basically you certify that you claim under law, under 17 U.S.C. 506E, any person who knowingly makes false statements. So basically you're just saying, I'm certified that I know this is mine. I'm not lying. I'm the real copyright owner. You click on certify, you add your name, and that's who they send it to. Then you click on review, and then you add it to cart. So let's say it's all done. We got through all this information. You add it to the cart, and then you add yourself for contact information, and then you pay. You go and you pay your $65. Then after you pay your $65, which I'm not going to do here because I'm not going to be able to get my money back. But let's say this was real, it's complete. You pay. It takes your acceptance. It accepts your payment through credit card. And then it takes you to where you can upload your music. You have to upload lyric sheet for your song and the MP3 of your song. So make sure you have the final version of your song transfixed in an MP3 format and your lyrics in a PDF or a Word doc, and then upload it. And then it shoots up to the people that process your claim at the Copyright Office in Washington, D.C. And then it takes about 3 months, and then you'll get a form in the mail showing your claim is complete. And I'll show you that here. So this is what you'll receive in the United States mail from the United States Copyright Office. This is an envelope, and it says on it, or the best place to show you this. Got my address crossed out here. But it's just from the Library of Congress, United States Copyright Office, 101 Independence Avenue Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20559. And you open it up, and this is from a previous work, I think. This is my certificate for one of those works that was showing still being processed. Oh no, this is for one of my paintings. This is for my painting, The Last Intergalactic Nosh. This is what you get in the mail. This is a form. Let me show you the paint that this represents. I've got it right here. And this is The Last Intergalactic. Aha. Let me get this microphone out of the way. Get the microphone out of the way, shall we? I should just put it up here by my ear. This is my play on The Last Supper. This is a takeoff of Da Vinci's Last Supper, but I put aliens and I put Yoda in there. Yoda's over here. It's actually a 3D painting I did with day glow in the dark colors. So that's what that registration is for. Because I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this published. This is probably the first time it's been published or seen. I've had a gallery owner see it. And I might have it in her gallery, I don't know. But if somebody says, hey, I already did this painting, that was my idea, you can't copyright an idea. So a million other people could do the same painting just as long as they don't take that exact rendering, my rendering of that idea, and try to use it and say it's mine. Mine's been in place in transfixed incorporation since March of 26. I think I said March 26. Yeah, March 24th of 26. So that's pretty much how it works. There's a lot of myths. You can't just mail something to yourself. It doesn't create a copyright. And the reason it doesn't is because how it was explained to me by my attorney is if let's say you record a song and you put it on a cassette tape and you mail it to yourself, anybody could have doctored that envelope or opened it or done something with it. It doesn't really create a fail-safe way of doing it. If you post it online, it's not protected because you don't have any legitimate things showing that you created it. It is protected, but registration provides additional legal advantages. If you take somebody else's work and change it 10%, that doesn't make it yours. It's not legal. If you take somebody else's work and give them credit, you can use it. That's not true. Absolutely not true. So if somebody takes that painting I just did and puts it on their website or puts it on, YouTube without my authorization and they're making money from it or they're using it without my authority, I can sue them. So I'm not going to go into much more. At a future date, I'm going to talk about how to protect your work online and what if someone steals your work and selling art versus selling copyright. So, copyright protection begins the moment you create your work. In conclusion, registration gives you valuable legal benefits, and protecting your creative work is part of being a professional artist. I try to copyright everything, but I encourage you not to wait until someone steals your work before learning about copyright. I have not so far, not to my knowledge, had anything stolen. But if you're interested in more and finding out more, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I'm going to send up another video about selling your work, as I mentioned, selling it versus copyright, selling the copyright, which is two different, selling your art versus selling the copyright. What if someone steals your work, and AI and copyright. Well, I hope this helped you out today. And let me know what you think in the comments. Subscribe, and I'll leave you with one of my original songs. This is I Understand You Now, a song I wrote about my parents about 18 years ago. See you later in another video. Hasta la vista, baby.